I go away for a day and a half, and I come back, and the entire landscape of college football has been changed. Now, a lot happened this weekend, but I have just realized I cannot take a day off. We missed a lot. There's a lot that has happened since the last time we spoke. Welcome in. This is Talking Tide. You all know what I'm talking about. The SEC championship game happened. The Big Ten championship game happened. The playoff committee has made their selection to who will be in the playoff. The final ranking has been announced. We are going to talk about a little bit of all of it. We're really going to deep dive into Alabama, Georgia, the SEC championship game in this video. And I have a lot to say about the playoff rankings. So that's going to be in its own separate video because I don't really want to muddy them up together. If I talk about both of them, it would genuinely be a hour and a half long video. I don't need that. My voice doesn't need that. It's just recovering from the game. You guys don't want to sit and listen to that. So we're going to make this about Alabama versus Georgia. The SEC championship game happened last night at time of recording, Monday or 2 nights ago. This show will be released on Monday morning. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the game. First things first, I want to say like and subscribe if you haven't already. This show has been something I've really enjoyed doing the past couple of months. It's been something, if you've come over from the Instagram page, we have a great community over there, great following, but video content was something I really wanted to push this year. It's been great. I've learned a lot about video making, and hopefully the content has gotten better as the year has gone on, and the channel has grown. So all of you new people, all of the new people who have come over from YouTube and not Instagram, welcome. Please also go follow the Instagram, of course. We're at like 8,700 or so on Instagram, and that's where I'll do a lot of interactions, a lot of talking with people, upload reels, all that good stuff. But if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe on the YouTube page. So I want to talk about this weekend. We'll start with Friday night. We had a great Friday night. Me and my brother drove up to Atlanta early. We ended up going to see a great show. We saw Josh Pate do their live show. It was him, the guys from Bussin' With The Boys, and a couple other people who ended up calling the game. Great show. Love Josh Pate. I think he does a great job. I think he has revolutionized sports media as it's known, and he will continue to do so with doing stuff like that. First live show I think they've ever done. I know they've ever done. They said it. So great show. Really enjoyed it. Great start off to the weekend. Then we get to Saturday. Now, we were blessed enough to go to the game. Very lucky to get to go to this game. I love the SEC championship every year. The pageantry of it, the stadium, the atmosphere, all of it. Greatest day of the year, in my opinion. I've been to the Rose Bowl the past 2 years. I prefer it over the Rose Bowl. So, SEC Championship Day, SEC Championship Saturday. I've realized my feel on games at times has been really good this year. Other times, been really bad. I felt wholly confident going into the Tennessee game. I felt wholly confident going into most games this year. LSU, South Carolina. I felt confident going into all of them. We've won most of them. I felt very nervous going against Oklahoma. We lost. I felt great going into this football game. That feeling was misplaced, to say the least. There has not been a bigger beating on an Alabama football team that I have seen in a long time. The last time I'd seen a beating like that was when we played Clemson. I think it was 2018, 42-17 or something like that was the score. I don't care to look it up. I don't want to be reminded. We flew all the way to California for that game. Every time I've been to California, not been good. We've lost every time. And on a side note, if Alabama does beat Oklahoma, spoiler alert, we got in the playoffs. If Alabama beats Oklahoma, we go play Indiana in the Rose Bowl. I don't want to go. I am fed up with going to California to lose football games. But I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Alabama versus Georgia and what happened. Well, what happened was Georgia outclassed Alabama. Simple as that. There have been games that have come and gone this past season and seasons before it where I think Alabama has hurt themselves more than the other team has hurt them. Against Oklahoma, I would say that our mistakes hurt us more than what their team did. They capitalized on those mistakes, yes. But had there not been mistakes made in the first place that were of our own doing, I think we win that football game. We could have played 16 quarters against Georgia. We were never winning that football game. And let's talk about why. We'll talk about the defense here in a moment. It's not on the defense. Spoiler alert, it's not on the defense. I thought they played a good football game, and we'll get into why I thought that. This was on the offense and the special teams, and we're going to talk about why. So this offense, we have a problem. We have a problem with execution and planning. And when we talk about execution, we saw it on the field. We got out-executed on every single play, our offense versus their defense. Snap to snap, we got out-executed. We had drops. We had blown play. We hadn't seen a blown play. Ty had to take the snap. Looked like a maybe was supposed to go to Danny Hill in the backfield. I'll have to go back and watch the tape if I can manage going back to watch that tape, which I will. I've never seen Ty have to just give up on a play like that before, slide down to the ground to avoid taking a big hit and a loss of yards. I haven't seen that all year. We got outworked. On the offensive line, we got outworked. We had drop passes. We saw a multitude of them. We saw Isaiah Horton drop one. Jeremy Bernard drop one in the end zone after Ty makes a tough play. Ryan Williams drop one in the end zone as well. And none of them are easy plays to make. But when you're in that situation and you say you have to go out and you have to outman the other guy, you have to do it sometimes. And that's where we lost. We didn't outman a single guy out there. We got beat on every single level. We got beat on offensive line. Our quarterback did not do what he needed to do. And our wide receivers couldn't make plays happen. And along with the running game, and we were -3 total yards carrying the ball. And sack yardage in college is accounted into that. So we weren't exactly just getting run behind the whole time. We did have a few successful run plays. And we'll talk about that here in a second when we talk about planning and execution as far as coaching goes. But we got outclassed. It's as simple as that. We did not show up. We were not ready for this game. We've had injuries, yes, but we were just not ready for this game. If it was full strength versus full strength, maybe we see a different story. It was more full strength versus full strength going into the regular season game and in Athens. But we were not up for this game. Simple as that. We were not up for it. And that happens sometimes. It does. So when I talk about we had a lack of, I call it preparation. It's more of executing a game plan. What was our game plan coming into this game? Well, I think, and I believe most of you also think this, at times we are too clever for what we are trying to do in terms of play calling. And we'll get into some examples of that as we go on. I think that we also don't make it very easy on our guys at times. We make things very complicated in already tough situations. And on top of that, we're trying to use pieces that are not really in play for us. So when I look at some of our tight ends, these are guys who are going to be great. Caleb Edwards, Marshall Pritchett, these are guys who are young. They just came into Bama. They're going to be fantastic players. Don't get me wrong. We saw some spurts of that throughout this year and even in this game. When we played Georgia the first time around, Josh Cuevas was our outlet. He was the guy we would go to in tight situations. Same thing against Oklahoma. Josh Cuevas has been the pressure release valve for this team for the whole season. And it is very clear that we are missing him right now. And again, this is no shade being thrown at the guys who are out there. They're going out there, they're doing the job to the best of their ability. They're true freshmen. I cannot sit here and say, I expect you to play at the same level that Josh Cuevas has, who's, for me, the best and most versatile tight end in college football. So I'm not expecting them to go out and play to that level. But I expect a play caller who is as experienced as Ryan Grubb is, and this is not on Grubb. I'm not going to go on a tirade saying this is all on Ryan Grubb. This loss is not on any one person. It is on us as a collective, as a team. We were not ready for this game. But in this specific situation, we saw it late in the game. The most successful plays we had late were going to the tight end, and we tried to go to them more often. Georgia had it covered because they're experienced. They have good eye discipline. They don't get bought by a lot of motion and pre-snap movement. They do their job very well. So I think that at times in this game, when we did go to the tight end, it worked. It was a pressure release valve for Ty. A lot of pressure coming. Even when we went back, I went back and watched some of that Auburn tape, and it's my apologies. I needed to get that film study out earlier. It will be coming out, don't worry. We're going to do, now that the offseason is coming up, we could do a deep dive on all of this stuff. But going back and watching that game, the tight end in a lot of these passing situations cover zero blitzes whenever teams are blitzing more than your offensive line can cover, and you have man-to-man when it comes to wide receiver versus corner or wide receiver versus safety or a linebacker. The only guy who was a real option at times was the tight end. And that in itself is a problem because we know now we are very thin at the tight end spot. We don't have our two starting guys. And now we're putting a lot of pressure on these freshmen who are young. They're just coming out of high school. That's not fair to them in the first place, but it also shows a lack of planning on our part on the offensive side of the ball. So I think we don't make it easy on ourselves with some of the play calling, and we don't make it easy on some of these guys that go out there and try and execute. And I think everybody out there is a competitor. Don't get me wrong. I think that if you go and ask Caleb Edwards, if you go and ask Marshall Pritchett, they're going to say, I want the ball in my hands in a high-pressure situation. I respect that. That's why I want guys like that at Alabama. I'm sure everybody would have said the same thing. Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, a lot of them. But it is not fair to put a guy with such little experience compared to what you had before in that situation. So I think that is a lack of planning on the offensive side of the ball. On top of that, I don't believe our situational football has been very good. I think that in the Auburn game, it was very obvious, and I did get to watch the Auburn game on a TV. This game was in person, so you don't get to see the whole field. You're watching the ball a lot of the time. I haven't gone back and watched the tape on it yet. We will, but I just ended up getting to the house about an hour ago. We've been gone for the whole weekend, so that will come. But again, whenever you're going and watching the game live, it's much harder to see things as they play out. But I have a suspicion that it's going to look exactly the same as it has done the past 3 weeks or so, not helping out our guys as far as play calling goes. Whenever we played Auburn, and again, this is my reference point because this is what I've dug in and saw in the past week or so. When I go back and watch that Auburn game, I see very clear blitz packages. Auburn has a good defense. They do not disguise things like an Oklahoma does. They're going to show their hand fairly early and simply ask the question, can you stop it? And we can, but we did not plan for success in that way. And what do I mean by that? I mean, whenever you're running cover zero blitzes, both linebackers are coming at you. You don't have enough guys to block. Yeah, I love getting a tight end out on some type of short route. Caleb Edwards is a freak athlete. He's huge. He can go out there and win one-on-ones, especially if a safety's matched up against him. But when I look and my star-studded lineup of wide receivers are 15 yards down the field apiece, you've got Lazio Brooks running a 15, 12-yard dig route. Jerem's running a post. Ryan's running a clear out or a double move. That's not conducive to setting your team up for success. And on top of that, it puts a lot of pressure on a quarterback who has caught a lot of flack, and there is some validity to that flack. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about that. But you're not helping your guy out. And as a coach, I feel like you have to make this game as easy on some of these guys as you possibly can. I'm not saying Ty is dumb or anything like that, but there's no but to that. Ty is not a dumb quarterback. He has a very high footballing IQ. Getting put in some of these situations while not playing your best ball is not a good thing. I'll break it down to you in a term that I understand very well. I love to golf. I love playing golf. It's a frustrating game, but I love it. If I go out and I have a range session and I hit the ball terribly, I'm not going to go pin seeking on every single golf shot. I'm going to hit the ball to the middle of the green, 2-putt, and try and make the game as easy on myself as possible. Right now, we are trying to go for the pin. We are trying to throw darts and break course records on every single play when we have a guy and an offense as a whole that is out of rhythm and not playing with all of our pieces. So I don't think that we have made it easy on these guys, Ty included. And I think that we're seeing the brunt of that. I think that we have to drop the ceiling of this team is very high. The ceiling of these athletes is very high. But when you're not playing to that ceiling, sometimes you have to dial it back. You have to reel it in a little bit and do the basics. When I look at this offense and say, what did we do very well early in the season? We did the basics very well. Timing on throws, being sharp on our routes, play calling, running the ball when we needed to, getting tight ends involved, getting the ball to your star-studded cast of wide receivers in space, and let them go do work. That is what we did well, and not making mistakes. Taking what the defense would give you. We don't do that anymore. We have not done that for the past 4 or 5 weeks. Why that has changed, I don't know. I'm not in the quarterback room. I'm not in that play calling headset. I'm not there. But for me, every indicator has pushed and said, we need to go back to doing the basics well. I understand it's not going to be flashy play calling, and I'm okay with that. Ryan Grubb loves a gadget type offense, and that's fine. He does it well. Whenever we are looking for 2-point conversions, whenever we are looking for, we have to get a first down and we need it now, whenever we have a drive that we have to put it together, he can do that. Don't get me wrong. Ryan Grubb is an excellent offensive mind. But there are times where he struggles to play this. He struggles to play the calls and the plays and the game that the situation calls for, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is whenever there is a situation and you say it's 3rd down and 7, you're up by 6 or 7 or 10 to 7 points, and you don't need a first down. You're leading. Maybe it's late in the game or it's early in the game. You don't have to put a team away this early. And you say, you know what? We can take the simple things and see if they work. We don't have to drop a gadget play. We don't have to drop something that's volatile and that can go wrong. And I'm not saying he does that necessarily, but it's the point of sometimes the best thing you can do is not make a mistake. And we've made a lot of mistakes in these past couple of weeks. Now, I caveat that by saying whenever you're down by 14 at halftime, you have to make changes and you have to be more aggressive. But when I look at that Oklahoma game, for example, there are times where we literally could have done nothing and gotten a better result. Instead of running some type of strange motion orbit gadget play to your wide receiver against Georgia, great example. First 2 plays of the game, we take the ball, run forward, fall down for 4 yards. Run forward, fall down for 4 yards. We have a 3rd down and 2. Against Georgia, the first time we went like 9 for 12 or 9 for 11 on 3rd down conversions in that first half. I don't know what we went in this game. It was not that good, let me tell you that. But what's the very next play that's called? It's 3rd down and 2. You've gotten 4 and 3 yards for your first 2 plays by just simply inside zone run, let your guy who's the same size as Derrick Henry fall forward for 4 yards. What do we call? We call this motion play where you bring Latzir Brooks into the backfield and he goes on this orbit handoff. He has to carry the ball 8 yards when you need 2. That's what I'm talking about, not making it simple and easy on your guys. And what happens? Well, he gets met in the backfield and we lose a yard. That's overcomplicating things. Same thing against Auburn. We're moving the ball well, up 17-0. What's the next play that we call? It's a weird flea flicker double pass thing that absolutely kills the momentum of your football team. The very next play, you call a run up the middle. You get 3 or 4 yards, 2nd down and 7. I would have taken, or 3rd down and 7 coming up. I would have taken 2nd down and 7 instead of you trying to, I don't even know, trying to be too clever, making it hard on your guys. I understand wanting to put people away and looking good on the highlight reel, but you know what looks a lot better on the highlight reel? Winning. Winning looks good on a highlight reel. And I don't think you win that way. So I'm not saying that Ryan Grubb, I know there's a lot of call for him to be fired. I am never the type of guy who's going to say, we have to get this guy out of here unless I wholeheartedly believe it and I have a reasonable replacement. Maybe that'll be the case after Oklahoma. I don't know. So I'm not there yet. But there are some things that really concern me when it comes to Ryan Grubb and our offense. And again, we'll do a film session and talk about all this. It's a lot easier to see whenever we're looking at it face to face. We have it on tape and we can point this kind of stuff out. But whenever I have multiple people DMing me saying, what is going on? Why are we doing this? I have Auburn fans. My brother goes to the gym and boxes with a guy who's an Auburn fan saying, what are you guys doing against Auburn? Why did you make this a game? Why did you make it so hard on yourself? When you have that type of stuff, there is a problem. So we'll go back and we'll look at this game against Georgia. We're going to do the same thing for Auburn and talk about all this stuff. But if that is the move going forward, I can't get on board with it. We can beat Oklahoma, just not in that way. And we'll talk about the Oklahoma game later in the show. And as the weeks go on, we got a bye week this week, essentially, until we go play Norman. But I can't get on board with it if it keeps on going the way it's going. And it's been going that way for about 6 weeks now. And it gets worse every week. So that's where I'm at with the offense right now. Now, I say all that, and we did have, whenever I speak about that and whenever I say we're missing pieces, we did have injuries in key spots in this game. Injuries have been a thing that has plagued us all year. We didn't have our starting running back to open up the season, and we don't have our starting running back to end the season. I don't know if he's going to play against Oklahoma, but we sure missed him in this game. Tight end is another big spot that we're missing. We talked about that already at length. We have a lot of guys who are true freshmen out there or young guys playing tight end, being put in pressure situations that I think they will be better for it, and I think they will be good athletes and star tight ends come, the end of their career at Alabama. But it's a hard spot to be put in this early in your career. Now, when I talk about the running back play, I had mentioned it earlier. We ran for -3 yards. And in college, sack yardage is counted into that. So we ran for a handful of yards. It wasn't anything impressive. We ran very poorly the first time against Georgia. We ran even worse this time around. So I think that has to improve. Against Auburn, we looked okay in the run game. We actually looked, I would say, good in the run game against Auburn. Same thing against Oklahoma. We had success in the run game. Eastern Illinois, we did also, but there's only so much you can garner from a game like that. Missing your starting running back hurts. And it hurts in more ways than one. It hurts in the pass game. We saw a couple of guys drop passes. Daniel Hill dropped one out to the flat. It wasn't a greatly thrown ball, but he did miss one there. It helps him pass pro. That's when I was coming into this game, I know Jam Miller was never going to be 100%, but if he was able to pass pro, he's worth having, because that's something our running backs have struggled with all year, and it's something we continue to struggle with. Again, in this game, I saw one or two moments where we did not pass pro very well with our running backs, and I'll have to go back and watch the film on it again. But that is something that needs to improve as we go forward into next year. And same thing with tight end. We have an offensive line that has been beat up at times, been moved around. We haven't played a consistent 5 all year. And whenever you're missing a tight end who can block, like Josh Cuevas and Danny Lewis, that also hurts. I mean, we're starting a true freshman at right tackle. It would pay the world to have a good tight end who can be over there and block for him. And again, this is no shade thrown at our tight ends who are freshmen right now. But whenever you have an experienced guy like Josh Cuevas or Danny Lewis out there and say, hey, you know what? I got you. I'll chip in on this block. I'll get a little chip in and then go out of my route. That means a lot. That helps a ton whenever you have a young guy who's a true freshman at guard. So injuries have played a factor in this, I would say, these past 2 weeks. We've not been at full strength, and nobody's 100%. I know people say guys are healthy. Nobody's 100% when it comes to this point in the season. It's where you are going to play through your injuries, and it's going to suck, and people are going to criticize you because you didn't look your best or you didn't play great. But a lot of these guys are hurt, but they're willing to go out and be out there for the team. So on one hand, I understand the criticism, because if you're going to play, you have to play and you have to benefit your team. But at the same time, I find it hard to criticize guys who are willing to go out there and risk a worse injury or play hurt. I find it hard to criticize some of those guys, and nobody's 100%. So injuries have hurt us. Another thing we have to talk about, the last point I wanted to say on this injury front, I already covered it a little bit. We don't do very well playing away from these injuries. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we do not, if we have an injured tight end, like we do, we still put the same amount of intent and the same amount of importance on that role, no matter who the tight end is. Which sounds great in theory. But if I'm looking to have, we'll put it in a different context. We'll say if I'm the Ravens and I have Derrick Henry in my backfield, if he gets hurt, we are not going to put the same run load into a game as we would have if we had Derrick Henry. Whenever I see tight ends go out to pass catch, I think I'm okay with this. This is good. We love lining up tight ends outside of the guards. They're outside of the line. Get them out in the slot and get them out moving around, make it where they can block, add some movement in there and figure out your coverages. But we cannot put the same amount of importance at the tight end spot whenever we have guys who are hurt, who are elite guys. And again, I already talked about this a little bit, but we have to play away from these injuries better. We have to say, okay, well, this guy's hurt. If we have, like Danny Lewis has been gone the whole season, good blocking tight end, same with Josh Cuevas. Well, we're going to have to adjust our run game because we have these other two guys that are good, but we may have to throw in some different run packages, try and find different ways to block for these guys because we don't have our two starting tight ends. I've gone back and watched some film, and the other tight ends, they'll go out and they'll work hard and try and get blocks and do all that good stuff. They put in the work and they do it well, but they're not going to do it as good as a guy who's a senior. And going back and just watching some of that film, we had runs that could have busted for big had the tight ends blocked better. So I think you have to do a better job of adjusting for those injuries and playing away from them, which we don't do. And again, that comes into situational football. Same thing with running backs. We have to make it where we have to play into Jam Miller and Daniel Hill are not the same running back. Same with A.K. Deere or Kevin Riley or Richard Young. They're not all the same running backs. We interchange them as if they are. Jam Miller's not a speed guy. Jam Miller I think he's very good out of the backfield. I think he can catch the ball and make plays happen when he gets into space. Daniel Hill, not a speed guy. He's a great power guy. He can get downhill. He can fall forward for 4 yards. He can catch the ball too. I know he dropped one, but he can catch the ball too. We saw it against Missouri. A.K. Deere, speedster. I think Richard Young. I think of a guy who, if he can pop a hole, he can find space and gain speed. All of these guys are not the same running back. So we have to stop playing them like they are. If Jam Miller's hurt in this game, we have to say, what's the best package for Daniel Hill? What's the best package for Richard Young? We have to go through that process, and I just don't feel at times that we do that. I feel like there's a well of plays that we continue to go back to, and I don't just say this freely, I promise. Going back against Auburn, Tennessee, you can watch where we run the same plays over and over, sometimes in the very same drive. So I think that we have to do a better job of setting these guys up for success by game planning for what they're good at. And if you're missing a key guy in that spot, maybe reel it in. Say, you know what? We really like this spot. We like this matchup, but we just don't have a guy at the moment who can execute it to the level that we need them to. And that's okay, because they're freshmen. They will get better. Because they're young, they will get better. But we have to understand that and say, we can't put all the pressure on this guy to execute like this senior did, because it's not fair to them. And you end up losing games that way. So I think that we have to do a better job of playing away from the injuries. Up next, we have to talk special teams. This has been, I wouldn't call it a crusade. I would call a crusade what I do when I talk about referees. That's a crusade. This is like an inquisition. I think that's the right term. This is an inquisition. It has been a silent war, a cold war. Me versus the special teams at Alabama. Our special teams for years has been awful. Our special teams for years has been awful. It has hurt us so many times. Not just field goal kicking, not just missing kicks, not fumbling all the time, but it's just our special teams. The only reason our special teams is not looked at as our worst group is because of Will Reichard. Will Reichard was genuinely one of the greatest kickers to ever play the game. The greatest to ever play the game at Alabama. But when I look down the line and I see times where, just in this season, missed field goals, poor punt coverage, turning the ball over whenever we receive a punt, fumbling the ball, block kicks. When I look at that and say, for the amount of times special teams is on the field, it has hurt us immensely. I look at Oklahoma game as a perfect example of this. And this is not all on Connor Talty. Like, this is not a player thing at this point. It has gone on long enough to say we must be doing something wrong on the back end, on the top end, at the coach's spot. I don't know what it is, but we have to do a better job of getting success out of the special teams. But Oklahoma is a great example. Oklahoma scored 13 points because of our special teams. How many times does special teams get on the field? Outside of a kickoff, not often. People punt 3-4 times in a game if the offense hasn't been very good. You kick a field goal 2 times a game. So you might get 5-6 plays with special teams. Oklahoma scored 13 points off of that. We had a terrible kick coverage return. That bought them 3 points. I got them into field goal range immediately. We missed a field goal. There's your 6 points. And we fumbled the ball where they end up scoring a touchdown because we gave them a short field. It's 13 points right there. We lost the game by 2. But that's not the only example of that. We know the history of missing kicks. I like Dowd. I do. I think he's a good kicker. But we haven't had a kicker who can flip the field since J.K. Scott. We haven't... I don't know why we return kicks anymore as far as kickoffs go. It hurts us more often than it helps us, whether it's down to penalties or getting in bad yardage situations. The first one that immediately came to mind was last year against Vanderbilt. We fielded a kick on our own 1, and we tried to take it back, and we fumbled it, and we had to fall on it on the 1 yard line. Stuff like that just feels like it happens year over year to us. When on that play, same thing with punt return, you literally have to do nothing. On kickoffs, we would statistically do better by doing literally nothing. I understand in the Georgia game, you're looking for a guy to make a play, and we got a face mask on that play, which wasn't called. The referees were not good in this game. I know we got whooped. The referees were not good in this game. But I haven't done the math on this or gone back to look at it. Anytime we return a kick, I don't think this year we've gotten it past the 25 the majority of the time. So I don't know why we field kicks anymore. Again, it's a spot where you can literally do nothing and benefit more from it. And on top of that, you don't risk getting a penalty. You don't risk fumbling the ball. You don't risk getting an injury. So I don't know what the idea is around the special teams at the moment. And again, this is not like shooting shots at Dowd. I think Dowd's actually a very good kicker. This is not on Connor Talty. I respect Talty a lot. I hate it when people boo him. He went out and made some important kicks against Auburn that helped us win that football game. So this is not shooting shots at the guys on the field. This is more of hoping that the special teams room, as far as preparation and coaching is concerned, gets looked at, because it's genuinely cost us football games. We saw in the game yesterday, block kick starts Georgia off and they're up and running. So it has hurt us a lot in the past couple of years. And I think that it needs to be something that is looked at. All right, on to the back of the page. See, the thing about the back of the page now is there's actually some good stuff on here. We're going to talk about defense. This defense, week over week, is the only reason we're in football games. This defense, and I say this with no, I think hyperbole is the correct word. I think that Kane Womack is the second most important human being in Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer is top. When Nick Saban is there, he's number 1. Kalen DeBoer is at top. Kane Womack is like right there. He is just below him. Out of all the coaches I want to keep, it's Kalen DeBoer and then Kane Womack. What he has done with this defense, the turnaround that we've had, and it happened the same thing last year. The defense last year didn't get enough credit because there were times where we were bad. But same thing happened last year. We start out slow, but he does a great job of figuring out what he's got and getting the best out of it. We have as many or more injuries on that defensive side of the football, and yet we continue to get better. We lost LT Overton in this game, and he was missed. It was obvious that he wasn't out there, but we have guys who are dogs that are willing to come in and they fill that spot, and they do it 95% amount the same. What Kane Womack is able to get out of a defensive unit that is beat up, that was heavily scrutinized week 1 and last year as well, it needs to be commended. He has done a fantastic job getting this defense where they need to be. On top of that, the personnel themselves, they take accountability. They take accountability for themselves. When I think of guys like Bray Hubbard, dude is a dog. When I think of guys like Dijon Lee, I think that guy's a leader, and he's a true freshman. I think about LT Overton, Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson. All these guys are leaders on the field. They take accountability for each other. They hold each other accountable themselves. And on top of that, you have a coach that is able to get guys in the right place to succeed. That defense is the most successful unit, not even just defensively. Offense, defense, special teams, that is the most successful unit I have seen in Tuscaloosa in a long time. Genuinely in a long time. And the problem is, that is a national championship winning defense. I know people say Texas Tech has a great defense. They're one of the best defenses in the country, and that's fair. They're a great defense. Alabama's defense is more than good enough to win them a national championship. Now, the great shame is, while the defense has progressed, the offense has regressed, but that doesn't take away from what this defense has done. If anything, I think it adds to it. Georgia scored 4 touchdowns yesterday. 3 of them started in Alabama territory. They only scored 1 touchdown outside of Alabama territory. And it was when they got the ball on the 43-yard line. They were 7 yards from midfield. That's the only time they scored coming from their own territory. They've gotten put in tough spots week in and week out by this offense and special teams at times, but they continue to perform. Whenever the atmosphere and the mood in this game, whenever the offense came on the field, it was desperation. We got into that third quarter, it was desperation. Just willing anything from your football team to try and get something going. We had guys in the stands getting ready to suit up and just go out there and just try and play. But when that defense came on the field, it was a different animal. Those guys, they wanted it. They wanted to go out there. They wanted to hit somebody. Dude, they hit some of those hits they laid out early in that game in the flats. I mean, it was violent in a good way. That's what you want to see out of your defense. Whenever you see that out of a defense that is gassed and that has been worked, that offense cannot stay on the field, and the defense continues to go out there time and time again, that is a unit that deserves admiration. Because they have worked week in and week out to get where they have been. And if the offense had any kind of pulse in this game this weekend, we had a chance to win it because they kept us in it. Same thing with Oklahoma. So while as bad as the offense is, the defense is just as good. And that's why we stay in games. I hope they continue to do what they're doing. A couple of things I saw in this game, we looked up at the stats board, 55-20. That was not the score, although it felt like the score. 55-20 was the amount of tackles that each team had in the third quarter. Not just in the third quarter, but up to the third quarter. Bama had 55 tackles to Georgia's 20. Think about that. That team had to make almost 3 times the amount of tackles that Georgia did. And they did it. They continued to do it. They didn't stop once the game ended. They didn't stop once we already knew we had lost that game. They continued to work and they continued to go out there and do their own job, which they did it very well. And they continue to do it very well. They've done it week after week. And at halftime, when I looked up at the score, did not feel like 14-0. It felt like it was so much worse because of the offense. But because of the defense, it was 14-0. They gave you a chance to win that football game. And we just couldn't do it. So where do we go from here? Well, literally, we go to Norman, Oklahoma next. But figuratively, where do we go from here? Well, here's the good. We get a little bit of rest. We're going to get some guys back. We're going to have time to get some guys healthy. I feel like Cuevas is very close. I don't know what the situation on Jam Miller is, but all these guys that are not 100%, but they're not on the injury list, they're going to get a chance to get healthy. And that's a big plus. The injury bug, for as bad as we looked, the injuries did not help. So that is a big plus for us. The other good part, in the regular season, with this game, we made the most mistakes I've ever seen us make in a football game outside of, the past 2 years. And we only lost by 2. We played one of the worst games we possibly could, and we only lost by 2 to this Oklahoma team. We're a favorite. We're a 1.5 point favorite as of the last odds I looked at. We can go win this football game. Are we going to do it playing the same way we did yesterday against Georgia? No. We're going to get embarrassed again if we do that. But we can go win this football game. It is very attainable. We have some things to work on, clearly. We've talked about that. But this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to go out there and prove that you deserve to be there. Leave no doubt is what I want to see from this offense, especially. And look, if you go forward, we said it a minute ago, if you go forward and you win this ball game, you go play Indiana. Indiana's a good football team. Do not get me wrong. But when I look on the other side of the bracket and I see Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech, I know Indiana is the number 1 team in the country. I would prefer to play Indiana. I'm being completely honest. Maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe I'm biased, but I don't want to play Georgia again. I'll tell you that. I think Texas Tech is a good football team. I don't really want to play them. Ohio State and Indiana, that game was mediocre, but I would rather play Indiana out of all 3. And we're not going to look too far forward, but when I look at that as a path, I'll take that all day. The bad, if we play like we did yesterday, we will lose. Plain and simple. Oklahoma is not as good of a football team as Georgia is. They don't have to be if we play like that. We have to get better. We have 2 weeks to do so. You have to go back to what made you successful. Keep it simple. Do the right things. You never go broke making a profit. All those old adages, they ring true here. Do the simple things well, because that is what made your offense successful in the first place. And we've gone away from that. We need to find it again. And here's the thing. This team has your number. Oklahoma has your number. Bama's 0-2 against Oklahoma in the past 2 years. You get a chance to go out and end their season in a couple of weeks. They thought they ended yours. They ended it last year. But you get to go out there and you get to flip the script. That is an opportunity. Same thing that happened with Michigan last year. You've been given a second life in the playoffs by the committee, and I think rightfully so. We'll talk about that in another video. This video's already been 50 minutes. I didn't want it to be that long. But you've been given second life. You've also been given an opportunity to right a wrong. The football team that played against Oklahoma a couple weeks ago is not what this football team is about. The football team that got embarrassed a couple of weeks ago is not what this team is about. I know it and you know it that they're much better than that. But now we get a second opportunity to go out there and prove it on the field. I hope we do. I hope we go out there. I hope we silence that crowd. It's going to be, I think, a 7 o'clock kickoff, 7 o'clock Central Time. I actually don't know. I saw 7 o'clock. In my head, it said Central Time. So it's going to be a night game. It's going to be a tough environment. We've done fine in tough environments so far this year. Played at South Carolina, we won. Played at Georgia, we won. But this is an opportunity that has been gifted to you. I would advise you to not waste it. Because if you end up going out there and getting embarrassed like you did against Georgia, it's a hard pill to swallow, and it could cause other things to come down the pipeline that we don't necessarily want to see. I know that the calling for a head coach's job has already been something that's fished out there. That is not in the cards, and it should not be in the cards win or lose this game against Oklahoma. But the crowd is already warming up their voices, and I think it's a poor look and honestly an idiotic take from my point of view. But I don't want that to even be a discussion after this Oklahoma game. So, and the good news is we have the talent and the ability to do that. I've seen it. You've seen it. But now we have to go out there and put that product on the field. And I hope we do. I don't want to watch another football game like I watched last night. It is not fun. But yeah, look, I believe in this team. I know I've seen that we have the ability to go out there and win a national championship. We've been given an opportunity now to do so, to go out there and put that onto the field. I hope we do it. I know this team can do it. I hope that we go out there and we put ourselves in a spot to be successful. And on top of that, I hope we can execute whenever those moments come. I've wasted plenty of your time. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, if you're not already, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe button, click the little bell notification icon. We'll go live every once in a while to do some film sessions because they get hit with copyright so much. It's hard to do. So live videos is usually the best time to end up watching those. I appreciate all you guys. This channel, like I said, has been growing week over week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a downer of a show. But look, it's football. It's not life or death. But I care, and you care. I know everybody in that building cared that we got embarrassed. Everybody who DM'd me, we care. And I say all that not to ridicule or criticize this team. I want the best for this team. I genuinely do. And I'm just out here giving my honest opinions on what I think would get the best for this team. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Yeah, I think that's it. I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Monday. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Y'all have a good one. Roll Tide.